Miss Biscuit stopped. I can hear the river. See that stone fence? We've reached the other side of the woods. The cottage is up there on that hill. They opened the gate and hurried up a narrow path. Oh, I can't believe it, cried Violet. We're here at last. Then she paused. Where's the cottage? I can't see anything but trees. Miss Biscuit shook her head. I don't understand. It's got to be here. It's no use searching in the dark. We'll sleep under my umbrella and have another look in the morning. Violet was horrified. Sleep on the ground? Yes, replied Miss Biscuit. We brought your blue blanket. It won't be so bad. Won't be so bad, cried Violet. I can't think of anything worse than sleeping on the ground. And at that moment, it began to rain. The next morning the sun was shining and birds were singing. However, it was the loud noises in the distance that woke them up. Bang, bang, bang! Violet pulled the blanket over her head. Miss Biscuit walked to the road to have a look. Pop, bang, hiss! The sounds were getting louder. Slowly, a rickety old car appeared. There was another louder bang, and it stopped at the gate. Good morning. You must be Miss Biscuit. Yes, I am. You must be Mr. Bickerstaff. That's right, he smiled. Sorry I missed your train. This old contraption broke down yesterday on my way to the station. I just got it running again. Oh, don't worry, replied Miss Biscuit. We found the way here, but now we can't find the cottage. Mr. Bickerstaff laughed. I'll show you where it is. Violet, this is Mr. Bickerstaff, said Miss Biscuit. He is going to help us find the cottage. Hello, said Violet. It's kind of you to help, but I'm afraid the cottage has disappeared. Without a home, we'll be forced to go back to the city. Mr. Bickerstaff smiled. Look over there, he said, and tell me what you see. I see some trees and a lot of ivy, replied Violet. Walk very close to the ivy and look again. Well, I see more ivy and, ick, 3 brown ants. Violet waited for the ants to move and carefully peeked under an ivy leaf. Oh dear, she sighed. What is it? Asked Miss Biscuit. Bricks, said Violet, not at all pleased. That's it. You found the cottage. It's under all that ivy, cried Miss Biscuit, and she began to laugh. It was right in front of us all the time. It's going to need a lot of work, said Violet. Miss Biscuit stood back to have a better look. What do you think, Mr. Bickerstaff? Well, first you'll have to cut away the ivy. Maybe not, said Miss Biscuit. I like the ivy. Why don't we clip it around the doors and windows and leave the rest as it is? Good idea, he replied. Let's get started. In a short time, they had pulled away enough of the ivy to open the front door. It was dark inside, but Violet found a candle. Miss Biscuit discovered a large pair of scissors in the kitchen. They opened the windows and snipped away the heavy growth of leaves covering them. Soon, the inside of the cottage was filled with sunlight. Oh, it's beautiful, said Miss Biscuit. It's just as I remembered it. They explored the cottage from top to bottom. There were dust and cobwebs, but everything seemed to be in working order. Mr. Bickerstaff cleaned the chimney, and they built a fire. Soon every room was warm and welcoming. In a few days it began to feel like home, although Violet insisted that her bed was uncomfortable. They were ready to start the garden when it began to rain. Violet was relieved. She didn't like getting her hands dirty, and she could catch up on some reading. It rained for days and days. I'm very bored, Violet said at last. There's nothing for me to do. Miss Biscuit picked up her sewing basket and a jar of old buttons, a flour sack, and a ball of red yarn. "Will you excuse me for a while?" she said, and walked into the kitchen and closed the door. Violet was puzzled. Hours passed. Violet sat by the window, watching the rain. At 5 o'clock, Miss Biscuit came out of the kitchen. "Close your eyes and count to 10. Violet counted and opened her eyes. Sitting on the chair opposite her was another rag doll. "She's funny looking," said Violet. "What's her name?" "She doesn't have one yet." "I'm very good at names." Violet thought for a moment. "She has a button nose and hair the color of rubies." "And rubies are very rare," added Miss Biscuit. "How about Ruby Buttons?" "Well, I guess she is kind of rare," said Violet. "All right, we'll call her Ruby Buttons." Ruby sat motionless in the chair. "Do you think she can speak?" asked Violet. "Why don't you ask her?" Violet leaned forward. "Terrible weather we're having." There was no reply. "Cat got your tongue?" said Violet. Miss Biscuit stood up. "Don't be rude, Violet. Perhaps she's cold. I'll put some more wood on the fire." The log was heavy, and it dropped with a thud. Cinders and ashes flew into the air. Suddenly there was a loud sneeze. "Excuse me." Ruby looked at Violet and Miss Biscuit. "Hello," she said, and climbed down from her chair. "Oh, what a beautiful room." "I'm glad you like it. Are you hungry?" said Miss Biscuit. "Oh, yes, I am." "Wonderful. Then follow me." The kitchen was warm and full of good smells. There were flowers and candles on the table, with 3 place settings of Miss Biscuit's best silver and china on a white tablecloth. Miss Biscuit poured some apple cider and raised her glass. "I'd like to make a toast. Welcome to Ivy Cottage," she said. "Here's to Biscuit, Buttons, and Pickles." And they all sat down to dinner. The end.